Hello and welcome back to Apex Con here in sunny Caldwell, Ohio. I am Ross Merriam, joined by Corey Baumeister. Corey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. How are you?
I am doing great. Excited to be casting this event with you. Today we are bringing you coverage of the standard $5,000 Apex Invitational Qualifier, entering round 3 here in the Swiss, getting into the middle rounds of the tournament. This is where things start to get interesting. The field starts to whittle down, and the top 8 starts to take shape.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of good decks, a lot of good deck diversity at the top. You know, some things that we would definitely expect to see. There are definitely some Izzet here on our top tables, but there's a lot of decks that are coming directly to try to beat Izzet as well, like the one we're about to see.
Yeah, it's really what's old is new again.
Yes.
Final Fantasy is the talk of Magic right now, but we have some players bringing some oldies but goodies back from the dead. Brendan Lane is one of those players playing mono white tokens.
Yeah, I love it. You know, I mean, it's the classic Enduring Innocence, Carrot Cake, as well as Caretaker's Talent style deck. But when you see 3 main deck High Noons, you know what you're ready to beat here. So with 3 main deck High Noons, 4 Biza, you would think this is a deck that is definitely trying to be an anti-Izzet deck.
Anti-Izzet and anti-mono red, and he has gotten that Izzet pairing here in round 3. Going to be up against Gabe Abadi. Gabe and Brendan Lane have played here for many years. Sure know each other very well. Mainstays here on the Apex series. So I'm excited to see if Brendan Lane can, take this matchup down and make High Noon look good, or if Gabe can kind of navigate his way through these haymakers.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing, is High Noon just really shuts down this deck, really full stop at least game 1, because well, most decks are not expecting to play against it game 1, so they have some ability to kind of break serve in the post-board games, but at least the Embodied does have 3 into the Floodmaw in the main, so you can really line up something there where you can bounce High Noon and then kind of go off a little bit.
A lot of the time against High Noon, you see it out of really straight control decks that don't put you under a lot of pressure, and that gives the Izzet deck a lot of time to just kind of play a slower game, but inch their way towards the finish line. This token deck can turn the corner very quickly with Caretaker's Talent getting up to that 3rd level, with Overlord of the Mistmores with Beza, so I don't think Gabe's going to have as much time to play through those High Noons. Instead, he's going to have to rely on those bounce spells and set up some really big combo turns.
Yeah, and I think that's going to make it a lot tougher here on this Izzet deck. I mean, the fact that, like you said, when you have High Noon and your opponent's just going 1-for-1 answer spells, it's okay. Or it's shutting down their own Shikos, for instance. High Noon is not always the best card to be playing in a lot of different decks, but in this mono white deck, it looks awesome.
Okay, it looks like players are ready down in the feature match area, so let's head down there and get round 3 underway. You have Brendan Lane on your left, Gabe Abadi on your right. Both players are 2-0, trying to get that 3rd win, and then really only 1 win away from the top 8 in a 6-round Swiss tournament. Yeah,
absolutely. And, I've tuned into coverage plenty of times. I've been out there battling plenty of times. It feels like a natural right that an Embody is in the feature match area here, as they do seem to be cleaning up anytime I'm watching.
I was out on the floor for round 2, and Gabe said, you know what? I've brought 2 real decks for you this weekend. Normally, he likes to bring a lot of spice, and sometimes that bites him. He's playing, the tier decks here this weekend, and starting out very well here with an aggressive start. Turn 1 Swift Spear, turn 2 Slick Shot Show Off. Not bothering with the plot on that one. He wants to get in there. But Brendan Lane has a great start of his own. Turn 2, one of those 3 copies of High Noon. So now the brakes are on for Abadi.
The High Noon play would have looked a lot better, if you were on the play with that kind of card. It still looks solid here, as I think there was a Corey Steelcutter in hand for Embody, so being able to go Cutter into this Storm Chaser's Talent would have just been devastating.
Talent will set up an attack for 5. So Brendan Lane down to 12 and staring down a pretty big battlefield. Interestingly, if he goes for a temporary lockdown, that will take the High Noon off the battlefield.
I actually think that's amazing. Whenever you have that ability to temporary lockdown and get your own High Noon, any of those plays that start with Embody, okay, into the Floodmaw, bounce the lockdown, well, your turn's over because High Noon comes into play right away. So it's actually not the absolute worst to have it stuck under there, even though it seems maybe not that ideal.
Okay, so lay down arms from Brendan Lane here. Going to take out one of those creatures. Body responds with an opt, sends the card to the bottom, and now the Slick Shot Show Off goes to exile. Back a body's way. Untaps with a couple of creatures still. See what he can do.
Yeah, looks like just a Corey Steel Cutter and a red card in the back. So a Swift Spear or a Torch the Tower. Looks like a Torch Tower goes for just a good old-fashioned equip.
Yeah, Cutter equipped, so this is going to be an attack for 5. Brandon Lane down to 7. Now he untaps, has a Fountain Port, and here is the Biza. Excellent card at stabilizing the battlefield.
Just such a great card. Pretty much, if I was not playing Izzet Prowess, which, you know, I think the deck is powerful. There's a solid reason to be playing it. For whatever reason, it doesn't really call to me as like a deck that I absolutely love. Pretty much any deck that I've been playing in Standard starts with 4 of that card in the main. Whether it's, you know, black-white style control deck, black-white Pixie, blue-white control, or mono-white, I am a Biza fan for life.
Very much feels like this is a Monstrous Rage v Biza format.
It really is, yeah.
Hey, a body picked up a Monstrous Rage for his turn, so going to try to set up a good block for him to try to take out this Biza or whittle down Brendan's life total. Sends in with just the equipped Swift Spear.
And now it's just a situation of math. What is the best thing that Embodied can do? And, well, it's Monstrous Rage, as there can only be one play. So if Brandon can set up a spot where you automatically kill this Swift Spear, and it's kind of a 2-for-1, you know, then you're kind of doing it. But double Prowess here, right?
This should be a 6/5 after everything.
Yeah. Should still be cleaned up, I imagine.
Brendan did the math. That's why he blocked with one of the tokens along with the Beza.
Yep.
So it should be all 3 creatures dying, but no damage going to come across. Brendan will stay at 11.
And that's a great exchange. Great exchange from Brandon.
Body just moves the Cutter back to the Otter, and it's back to Brendan Lane, who gets to untap with a pretty full grip.
And now just playing Carrot Cake and being able to gain a little life, and then you have the ability to use your mana on your opponent's turn, just makes this like an extremely powerful High Noon deck. Like, even if you're just sacrificing block, sacrifice with the Fountain Port, or just sacrificing the Carrot Cake, both plays are great.
I think a body at this point is going to need to set up a really big turn.
Yeah.
He's not going to be able to limp over the finish line. Brendan's had a relatively healthy 11. He's going to gain some extra life from this Carrot Cake.
Yeah, and then more cake to be had in hand there from Lane.
Body rebuys the Monstrous Rage with Storm Chaser's talent, so that is now on level 2.
Definitely solid, but even getting to level 3 on the Storm Chaser's talent, not really amazing in the face of a High Noon. But a Burst Lightning in hand, so looks at your opponent and be like, are you at 4 yet? No? Okay.
Oh.
Wow, we didn't sack the Carrot Cake. We did use our mana, I guess, to get rid of that, but... Okay, Burst Lightning not lethal, no.
Yeah, Brendan wanted to get this Sun fall down before sacking the Carrot Cake so we can keep the Rabbit around. Does a body have a way to end this game? Here's a Swift Spear. Can equip that with Cutter, and that's 2. But he looks like he's a little bit short. Needed another land to potentially kick the Burst Lightning on Brendan's turn to finish off. So just going to come across for 2. Brendan down to 3.
Yeah, now that being said, Brendan does have to find a way to gain some life here and prevent this creature from trampling over. I think that is definitely easy to do, but, you know, I believe there is a laydown arm, so if Brendan Lane decided to do that, that could have easily spelled the end. But now you get this, you can animate the Incubate token, as well as sack the Carrot Cake here, and just be as defensible as humanly possible. So I like that. So close. Embody was so close to winning this game multiple times.
Brendan does have to be a little bit careful around a Burst Lightning. If he taps too low and sacks a Carrot Cake, Gabe might be able to kill him in response.
Yeah, and Brendan should be at 6 life here, right?
He hasn't sacked a Carrot Cake yet, so should be at 3.
Oh, fair.
Just gains life when you sack it, not on ETB.
Fair. So has it ready to go. Yeah, this could get a little brutal. Okay, now you know it's kind of safe to, sack the cake. And then I guess block the Swift Spear, but you don't even get to eat it or anything.
Oh, sack will make a 1/1.
Yeah, I guess, and then you animate and double block. That's not so bad.
Yeah, that'll work just fine. Transform the incubator. Now we have 3 power, 3 toughness. Swift Spear will trade for the incubator token. 1 comes across from the slick shot show off, and Brendan Lane goes up to 6 from the carrot cake, back down to 5 in combat, and stays outside of burst lightning range.
Has lived outside of burst lightning range, just barely.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty good one.
Overlord of the Mistmoors.
Now, that being said, I think Embody has this, right? Because you just have 2 flyers. You block that. That soaks up the 2 damage. Burst Lightning is 6 when you pair it with... It's actually 7.
Yeah, this is going to be effectively 8 damage, right?
Yeah.
Burst Lightning's 4, and the Slick Shot will be a 4, and you can only soak up 2 of it.
Boom. Yeah, that... it doesn't look like there was another option. I guess you could have impending and sacked the carrot cake, and that would have kept you alive, right?
Yeah. Having the 6/6 in play wasn't as important as keeping your life total.
Yeah, and that was a little bit too fast of a decision for my liking. Sure, if you weigh the options and then you still jam it, that's fine. But, you gotta put yourself in that spot and be like, what is the one card that can kill me? It's almost always Burst Lightning or Monstrous Rage. So if you can cover both of them with a different play, you had to make that play,
Yeah. And Monstrous Rage would have been lethal there as well.
Yeah.
Because it would have been 7 coming across instead of 8 total. You soak up 2, you still take 5.
Yep. But the sacking of the carrot cake would have kept you alive against both of them.
Exactly.
So, yep, that is definitely just going to be a play that you're going to look back on and be a little disappointed.
Yeah, it felt like we were in a scenario where that game was there for Brendan. Just had to play very carefully through the different traps, and he played very quickly on that turn and fell into one.
I think he just wanted his cake and wanted to eat it too. But so this one, you just had to have the cake. Eat it next turn.
Okay, players are going to go to sideboarding. Corey, what do you think is going to be coming in here for Brendan Lane?
Okay, let's check it out. So the enchantments look good to me. We have 3 authority, 1 high noon that I would definitely want to be bringing in against Izzet. Outside of that, I don't think anything looks too great. Those are the cards that stand out to me. You want to just be as reactive as possible. Get cards like Elspeth Stormslayer out of there. Maybe even the Overlords, they look a little slow. And just really choose to be the control deck and try to get one of those powerful enchantments in play. Or ideally, both. Turn 1, turn 2, authority into high noon, and say good luck to Embody.
And no surprise here that Brendan Lane doesn't have a huge sideboard for this matchup because he already has the high noons in the main.
Pre-boarded, as they say. That one's pre-boarded. Yeah, that looks real good.
And moving over to Embody, what tools does he have to try to win this match?
Yeah, I would think you need that 4th into the Flood mod to just have the ability to bounce a high noon when it comes into play. I would also like Sunspine Links. It is a mono white deck, but they do still play a decent amount of non-basics, so you can kind of, win the game with a giant fireball style of effect at the end.
And frankly, just stopping the life gain.
And just stop the life gain, yeah.
So much incidental life gain.
Prevent that cake from getting eaten. But yeah, outside of that, nothing amazing. Did you like keeping in Drake Hatchers in this style of matchups? I wouldn't think they seem amazing, but I could see a case for that as well.
I prefer Slick Shot in this matchup, and Embody has the 2-2 split in the main. I'm not a big fan of Hatcher in these slow matchups. I could definitely see Ral, Lithomantic Barrage, and the counter spells, Stroke and Spell Pierce coming in. Just that Barrage is such a good way at clearing that first Beza and keeping the pressure on. And then Ral, not as good in this matchup because they can actually pressure it.
Yeah, they can attack it down, but hey, it's something to do. It really just becomes a product of how many cards you need to take out, and like the 2 Torch the Tower look terrible. Outside of that, none of the cards look horrible. Maybe you don't want Burst Lightning, even though it did just win you the game, but Drake Hatcher is coming out as well.
Yeah, it really depends on how Embody wants to approach the matchup. If he wants to stay really aggressive and just power through the enchantments with his bounce spells, or if he wants to be more of a mid-range deck and play a longer game. The Izzet Prowess deck is capable of both. That's why it's so powerful.
Yeah, I do feel a little bad about bringing... I love the Disdainful Stroke. That looks great, but I feel a little bit bad about bringing in a Spell Pierce, because sure, it can hit, the High Noon on turn 2, which maybe you just need that aspect, but whenever you hold up Spell Pierce, you're like, all right, this is the turn I get them, and they drop a Biza, you're like, this is the turn they got me.
Indeed. I really like getting Caretaker's talent with it. When you can shut off the talent, it really makes the mono white deck a lot less powerful.
That could be a card he sides out, though, too. It really could be. It is a little slow.
Okay, players kicking off here for Game 2. Brendan Lane leads off with a Plains, so no authority on turn 1. The body will take advantage by playing turn 1 Swift Spear. Gets in and drops Brendan Lane to 19. Lane again with no play on turn 2, so neither of those powerful enchantments coming for him. That means the window is here for a body to, develop his board and get in a lot of damage very quickly.
Yeah, you really need to be keeping pace with this Izzet deck, unless you got a good amount of sweepers, but nice and patient with the Get Lost, though. I like that.
Yeah, body, gets in for 1, plays the Drake Hatcher. Lane ready with the Get Lost.
Okay. Excellent. And I mean, this is one of the very few reasons to leave in Torch the Tower, but I don't think that's enough to really leave him in, as I for sure wouldn't. You just kind of go through it, but man, a Torch would look great right now, that's for sure.
Certainly would. The Enduring Innocence from Lane is a nice turn 3 play. Body looks to be a little bit flooded, but starts this turn with a Swift Spear and an Opt.
2 extra lands in hand, so if you can find the GOAT stock up, you'll be feeling real nice.
Yeah, definitely the card you want to draw when you have a bunch of lands.
No, you didn't even need that second part of that sentence. Just definitely the card you want to draw always.
Body giving this one a long think.
I want to say it looked like another Opt off Quick Flash, and that would be something you would just always keep, you would think, but I could be wrong on it, of course.
Looks like it's going to the bottom.
That was a Corey.
Little late for that one.
Yeah. Ooh, sack that map up to 3. Solid play.
Into the Floodmaw is the reveal off the map Explorer.
So could go Corey Steelcutter next turn and into the Floodmaw something, get a little ability, but I love that. Search for stock up. Yeah. You really need some extra gas here, because if we do just put Biza into play here, it looks quite brutal.
How about a split up for your 2 Swift Spears?
Looks pretty good. Plague Wind. Attack for 2, gain 2. Your turn.
So body down to 18. Lane going to go back up to 17.
But now you just have a 2-mana artifact and go. So really needed a follow-up there.
Yeah, didn't find another spell after graveyarding the Floodmaw.
Yep.
Lane moving very quickly with a second Enduring Innocence. He wants to end this game now.
Yeah, and especially when you have 2 Enduring Innocences and you miss back-to-back land drops, your hand's probably pretty good.
Here's a Carrot Cake for Brendan. Going to be able to draw 2 with those Innocences, try to find some more lands.
2-mana Scry, draw 2, put a 1/1 into play with a food, essentially. It's pretty good card.
Finds another Plains to make land 4, and now sends both Innocences in. A body going to drop to 12. Brendan Lane going to go up to 21. And that is not where you want your opponent's life total as the Izzet Prowess player.
And Body just drew 4 lands in a row after, surveilling at least 1 land away there. So a little unlucky, as it looked like. Embody basically just drew nothing but lands.
But frankly, I think you could have given him 2 spells and he would have still been very far behind.
I mean, if he got stock up on that first turn, where it was just right after the split up, you can go Corey Steelcutter into stock up. I've seen Izzet decks do, some scary stuff from that situation for sure.
Yeah, that would have definitely helped. But by, even stock up on that last turn.
Oh, yeah.
Multiple Innocences in play. That was going to be tough.
That was going to be brutal. Unless it's just, stock up into double torch or something absurd like that to be able to clean them up.
Okay, players going to be moving to game 3 here. Anything you think going to change in sideboarding?
Embody could be thinking about, these Enduring Innocences clearly were left in. Do I need to respect them? I think that would be the question I would be asking. And And it does look exactly like that. That last card that was brought in there from Embody was a Torch. I still don't know if I love it, if I really feel the need for it. I like Torch on the draw against a deck like this, and then on the play, I want to just be as powerful and proactive and just go through those cards. Now, granted, that doesn't always work, so maybe it should just be Torch all the time.
Definitely a big gamble.
Yeah.
If you draw a Torch and they draw Innocence, it's awesome. If you draw a Torch and they don't have Innocence, it's awful.
Yeah, exactly. If they draw their, a bunch of removal spells, their 1-mana Swords to Plowshares, their lay down arms, into split up, into Carrot Cake, into split up type draw, you're just like, great. I have a shock that doesn't even go upstairs that I can't proactively cast to turn on Corey Steelcutter. Sweet.
As our players are shuffling up for Game 3, I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsors for this weekend, Spice Rack and Moxfield, two companies we could not run these tournaments without. We use Spice Rack's tournament software to run everything. Moxfield is where all our deck lists are. So please check them out and thank them for helping us put on this show.
Yeah, really smooth stuff here on Spice Rack as well. Being able to see the deck list, it's kind of on our back end, where it's really nice, where we get to see the deck list next to the players and stuff. Helps out the casters as well as helps out the players, so good stuff.
Hey, Body just getting a little last second shuffling in. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Got to make sure your deck's thoroughly randomized.
And, you have plenty of time. Those 2 games went real quick. Real quick. So now this is the really tough game for our Mono White Tokens player. Being on the draw, it doesn't matter if you have High Noon. You can just really get run over. This is where I think you absolutely have to have either Authority, High Noon, or some interaction on turns 1 and 2. You can't keep a hand that doesn't check any of those boxes. There's a High Noon. Authority as well. I don't see it, but does look like a the removal spell Lay Down Arms into High Noon, which would be perfectly reasonable. Destroy a Swift Spear into High Noon. You got to be happy about that.
That'd be an excellent opening, and more good news for Brendan Lane. A Body taking a mulligan to 6.
Especially if Embody were to do something like, all right, I'm just going to plot this Slick Shot show-off, and then you get High Noon, and you're like, no!
Yeah, he sees the laydown arms that you played on turn 1. It's like, I don't want to get my Slick Shot show-off laydown.
yes.
I'll plot it.
All right, in that case, I'll put my Hasty Squire into play, attack for 1, and your turn.
So... Body going to be on 6 cards, but on the play, this might be a game that he needs to rely on some of the heavy hitters. The first 2 games were very fast, but with enough stock ups, maybe Ral, maybe Sunspine Links, a Body could win a longer game even down a card.
This looks like a must keep, as we've already mulliganed, but it's a Shivan Reef 1-lander with double opt. But good enough, get rid of one of those burn spells. You don't really need it. And then it just comes, do you want to start like this? Or do you want to go opt to guarantee your play? I like this. Opt for the land next turn, hope for the best. Oh, we have the Authority into High Noon plan. Whew. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, a Body does find the second land.
Yep.
Runs out a Drake Catcher. Now the Otter from Talent will come across. Lane back down to 20 because he gains 1 from the Hatcher.
Yep. And I think I saw High Noon, I saw Biza, and Enduring Innocence. So, if Brendan Lane can curve 1, 2, 3, 4 in that beautiful curve, good luck.
Yeah, there's the High Noon. Back across to a Body. Draws into the Floodmaw for turn, so that's a nice one.
Okay.
Starts this turn with an opt. That'll bring him down to 17. He's taken a point from the Shivan Reef all 3 of his turns so far. Bottom off the opt.
It pains me because you had to bottom.
And pained him. He has the pain land.
Oh, okay, yeah. It pained me because I think that was a stock up to the bottom. Ugh.
Finds a 3rd land with a 2nd mountain, so plays that and now plots Slick Shot show off. A little awkward, but it's the only thing he can do with his mana, so might as well.
Might as well. And you can play it for free and maybe buy back an opt or something if you top deck a land next turn, but either way it stands. the old plot against the 2 enchantments that kind of wrecked that card just feels so bad.
So players are wondering if a body can plot after playing a spell with the High Noon.
Yeah.
This is an old interaction that used to happen with Suspend, because Suspend was replacing casting the spell, but plot just looks like an ability, so I think we should be fine.
Yeah, yep, that should be no problem. As you're not casting it, it's an alternate cast for the following turn. But, that being said, if you play Slick Shot Show off plot next turn, you cannot cast another spell.
Yeah, that counts as casting a spell.
Yeah.
Okay, so now players are confirmed on how it works. A body will come across with the 2 creatures for 4, and Lane will fall to 16. Back Brennan Lane's way. Has a Sunken Citadel.
Okay. Tap land, not so bad. And just Swords to Plowshare here, no big deal.
Late on Arms will take care of the Draycatcher. A body will go back up to 20. Now untaps with just the Otter.
I think I did see land 4 plus the Biza, so if this Slick Shot comes into play, which there's not really another better plan, like, sure, you could into the Floodmaw a High Noon and then play Slick Shot Show Off, but that's quite bad. So instead you get to play this, you get in an attack for 1, and now the big old elk comes to play.
Yeah, just a Spirebluff Canal, the draw for turn for a body, and it looks like Lane doesn't have a 4th land.
Okay.
So gonna content himself with an Enduring Innocence here on turn 4.
Still pretty reasonable.
And now, does a body want to bounce High Noon on the end step? Does he want to wait for his turn, to bounce it?
I would think if you have opt as well, that I would want to opt here first. And then if I really want to have a big turn, let's say I opt into opt plus Monstrous Rage, then let's go. Let's make a big turn and try to put something together. But still, being at 16, this is a tough mountain to climb, and that just looks like a Storm Chaser's talent.
Yeah, so body does play the opt bottoms. Now finds a land for turn, so can make a reasonable attack here for 8.
Yeah, this feels to me like a level 2, get back into opt and just be a little sad, but it's not great either.
Body going to go for the 2nd talent, so that'll enter tapped. The Otter and Lane will gain a life to 17.
I guess the one thing that you can do here that's kind of nice is you can into the Floodmaw at end step, and then you can into the Floodmaw the next 2 turns as well. How good that is, I don't know, but that is an option, as you can level 2, get back into the Floodmaw, bounce. Level 2 into the Floodmaw, bounce.
All right. And now Lane should have dropped a 14 there because that Slick Shot was a 3. Oh, but gained 2 off the Enduring Innocence.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So only took 1.
Yeah, still at 16. And still no 4th land for Brendan. So just a pass of the turn. And is this the turn where a body can make something happen?
Now Brennan Lane has a Get Lost available, though, it looks like. So that's at least some interaction. But, yeah, I think this game hinges on if Brennan can just find a 4th land in the next couple turns. I think he even has a couple turns. Then it's just GG. But if Brendan's not able to do that and, just keeps drawing high ends or keeps drawing Caretaker's talents, you could easily see him body sneak this one out.
Right, so body going to rebuy and opt with one of the Storm Chaser's talents, moving to level 2. Now
Bang.
Goes for the opt instead of the Swift Spear he drew, and Lane responds with Get Lost on the Slick Shot Show Off. So this will just be a 2-point attack from the Otter, pumped by Prowess. Lane going to drop to 14. The body keeps the top card with the opt.
Another Get Lost is not land 4.
Okay. Got it. Even though Lane doesn't have land 4, he keeps having interaction to keep this game going.
Yep. Ooh, that's a Planeswalker. That immediately gets cast.
The Crackling Wit.
Ooh. Now, with that other Get Lost, yeah, you could deal with an Otter, but that is not amazing here. Ticks up to just get another Otter. You probably got to deal with that.
Imagine Get Lost will be targeting the Planeswalker.
Yeah, you would think so, but, now you do need to deal with these Otters. Like, even if you're only taking 4. That's still a lot. And with the... Oh, this could just be GG.
Yeah, this was a big turn for Lane to find that 4th land for Biza, and he did not. Just a caretaker's talent for him this turn. This is the window.
Yeah.
Body has it. 2 Otters, has a bounce spell for the High Noon. What can he do with this attack?
I would even do it at end step here. You have a stock up and 3 mana with nothing else to cast, so we'll see. It might work out better here to do it this way. So on surface value, you bounce the High Noon, you have Burst Lightning, you have stock up. So 3 spells, Otters, that makes 8, 10 damage.
Body's got a mountain in his hand. Okay, starting with some map exploring.
Okay.
Looks like a Body's going to be more patient. He's going to try to set up an even bigger turn.
Okay, reasonable.
Like another map. So first one hits Sleight of Hand, that goes to the yard. Then Corey Stillcutter go to the yard. Okay, now Body goes for the stock up. So it doesn't have to commit the into the Floodmaw and still gets a pretty big attack in here for 6 damage.
Yeah, I don't mind it. The one thing that's kind of going on here is if you do into the Floodmaw this turn and put Brennan Lane down to 3, which I think my quick math allowed to happen, then Brennan Lane has to Wrath and has to find a way to get High Noon back into play. This being said, all you have to really do is Wrath, and then into the Floodmaw isn't as good because Embody will have to set up, get some creatures into play, tapped, at the expense of Brennan Lane, gaining some life, and then bounce the High Noon to then pop off with the Prowesses. So, but there's another land, or there's another non-land with just another High Noon.
Wow, Brendan Lane bought himself so much time with that removal to find land 4.
Yeah.
Hasn't been able to do it here. Land off the top for a Body, and you have to imagine this is the turn.
Yeah, you got to think that this is all wrapped up as there isn't much that you can even do. And really unfortunate for Brennan Lane, as that start could not have been any better when you're trying to be defensive against this as a Prowess deck.
But frankly, he put himself in that position with the mistake in game 1.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get sloppy in game 1, game 2 was a breeze. He doesn't even have to play that 3rd game.
And to be fair, still would have had to continue on from that game if Embody drew Burst Lightning number 2. Maybe still could have won, but I agree. You needed to be defensive for that game 1 as well.
Yeah.